Are you ready to learn from an amazing person who's super passionate about building amazing brands for people and as well started her business from a freelancer into now fully remote agency? This is a Skillia podcast where every single week we're bringing on an amazing guest for you to learn and get to know and how they were able to stumble into starting their own business, how they've been able to grow it, and how they see themselves scaling it and growing it, especially in the world of AI. I am your host, Lacaba. I'm the co-founder of 2XU, an executive assistant outsourcing business. And if you're ready to ditch the grind, let's go over and scale you. Now, our guest today is a global entrepreneur, remote agency founder, and delegation expert who's completely obsessed with all things creator economy. She's the founder of Limitless Social, a boutique social media agency supporting luxury real estate entrepreneurs and online business owners, and the visionary behind the Creator Assistant, a virtual assistant agency that helps creators and digital CEOs hire, train, and manage top-tier executive talent. Kierra has built and scaled fully remote teams while running her businesses from around the world, traveling to over 35 countries and living everywhere from Thailand to Mexico. Her work focuses on helping founders reclaim their time, delegate smarter, and build businesses that support freedom, sustainability, and growth without the burnout. Okay, guys, so please help me welcome our guest today, Kierra. Hey, Kierra.
Hi, very, very excited to be here.
Excited to have you on. Now, you're one of the people who is funny enough, rare in what we do, where I've met you in person. And of course, I've gotten to know you in different ways. But of course, for a lot of the people who are listening or watching this, it will be the first time meeting you. So who was Kierra before your business? Like before all of this essentially that you've created, who were you then?
Yeah, great question. And I know I love getting to meet you as well. So hi, everyone. I'm Kierra. I started my corporate career in 360 recruiting. I've lived in the US. Specifically, I had offices in Charlotte, in Dallas, Texas, and really got to see the side of ultimately sales with 360 recruiting. Really quickly realized my goal, which I think we'll get into in a little bit, was ultimately location independence. And I really wanted a career that merged career growth with location independence. So I was determined to find a way to make that happen. So long story short, I ended up getting promoted inside the recruitment agency to do talent acquisition marketing. I oversaw global marketing across a variety of different offices, the US market, the Asia Pacific market, and also all of Europe specifically. And From there, I got to be a social media manager and oversee everything. That was my taste into the social media marketing world. And then I basically, from there, started applying to globally remote jobs, getting my freelancing taste there, and then taking on social media freelance clients on the side. Once I started taking social media freelance clients on the side, I realized the business side of social media marketing and started getting a taste of the agency world, and it just took off from there. Ended up being able to leave my full-time job, start the social media management agency, hire under my social media agency, and build that out. And now today, I also have a recruitment agency, which I'm sure will happen to as well, which is not only the social media marketing side, but hiring creative talent in the creator economy. So my businesses are all about personal brand building. I'm very passionate about personal brand building and just the power of marketing in general, in addition to being able to travel anywhere in the world. So I think that's a brief overview of where I started and kind of how I got to where I am today. But I'm really excited to dive into a few more topics as well.
Gotcha. No, I love that because then that gives me like a lot of like thinking space of like diving into. So what was it like for you to switch from, you mentioned that you had essentially like the career and then you went freelance. What was that shift over like for you? Like what was the, for a lot of people who are listening in or like watching this, they're like, oh, I want to make that jump. But like, what is it actually like? What's the reality of it for you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. For me, I'm the type of person, I overanalyze and I can definitely get caught in analysis paralysis. I'm not sure if anyone listening has similar things that come up, but I really needed to make sure this was the right decision. So I would listen to, I would say, a lot of self-help. I'm not sure if you've heard of Puno from I Love Creatives, but that was a very... Have you heard of her by chance?
It sounds familiar. Might have, yeah.
Okay. Maybe we could like link it in the description, but it's a great resource. And she basically talked about really identifying like how to find your passion, either project or business, and how to get paid for your skills. So I started to kind of dive into, okay, what is freelancing? What could I do? And then, like I mentioned, I already had that social media marketing job. So it kind of just aligned in that sense. And to me, again, my biggest North Star was being able to have location independence. I wanted to be able to work from anywhere in the world. While I'm young, I basically worked all throughout Central America. Well, I still had my remote job, and then I started freelancing on the side. But yeah, that was my priority. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, with the vacation independence is one where I'll think for a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, especially who want to start exploring or just seeing more of like outside of their home, especially if they work remotely. What are kind of what is important to you when it comes to the remote work? Is it just mostly just the flexibility of where you work, or is it also the flexibility of like the times that you work? Because I remember when we were we both met in Thailand, it was a little bit harder for you to like switch off working with different clients in different time zones. What was that for you?
So that's a really great question, and also a really great point to anyone listening. That is definitely a factor for consideration that you shouldn't downplay, because it can really catch up to you with time zone, taking meetings that you have to be on, especially as a CEO or a founder. When you're leading so many leadership teams and meetings with sales calls, you need to have high energy. So that's something to consider, and maybe we can dive into that in a little bit. But for me, I'll be honest, when I first started, I just wanted to see the world. Like I kind of mentioned, I started somewhat locally. So my story was I booked a one-way ticket to Mexico. That's when I started the freelancing. And that time zone for me was still EST, which was an easier jump than where I was in Asia when I met you in Bangkok. So that is something for consideration as well. And that's something I knew. I also forgot to mention this. When I was freelancing, I was also solo traveling for the first time. So that's also something that kind of factored into my decision. I just had this urge, like independence and drive to see the world, and I just wanted to make it happen. So, but I do think that raises a great point. Like if you are deciding to maybe become a digital nomad or start your own business, you should start and consider time zones that are in alignment with your target customer or your target clients, because it does catch up to you. But yeah, basically my answer is I just wanted to see the world, and I would do whatever it took to get there. So,
well, I'm happy to dive into the time zone thing. It's like I remember when I first started my business, and of course I'm in the Philippines, it was so much easier for me to work with clients in Australia because it was only a 3-hour difference. And of course, like as the business has kind of scaled a little bit more, we now have clients like in the UK, we have clients in the US, and like even on my calendar, my only sleep time that I put on there, which is I know is bad, it's like 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. because then I can catch a little bit of the EST people and at the same time catch a little bit of the European side. So for you, what has that been like, especially when you are traveling, when you are going through different parts of the world? How do you kind of manage that side of like making sure you have enough sleep at the same time you are nomading and adventuring, but at the same time making sure that the business, you're on it essentially?
Yes, no, absolutely. I am an operations and systems person. I think that's from our get-go something we've really related on. I am into time tracking. I'm into planning out my day plans. I have running to-do lists, where each hour block, sometimes even each half-hour block, is clearly outlined with what I'm doing. So depending on the time zone I'm in, I always try to outline, okay, like what general times throughout the day do I need to do the hardest things first? Do I need to coordinate sales calls? Sometimes, like you mentioned, it does depend on the time zone of the client. So when I was in Asia, I'll just say, for anyone that's wondering, like, what does it actually look like? When I was in Asia, typically when I was getting on sales calls with people that would become clients or current clients, I would typically work anywhere from 6 p.m. through midnight. That was my time zone, just being very transparent. I would still work lightly throughout the day. Like I would do like admin tasks, team leadership calls during like the daytime in Bangkok, because that was the time zone of my team, because they're also likely from like the Philippines market. But I think it's just important to time block exact timeframes. Is that sustainable long term? I don't even have that set answer yet, because I'm actually back in the US, focusing on growing the business here with our clients here. But that is just something to consider as well. Like, I think it's just a matter of planning out your days, being strategic, And actually, like what I do as well, this might be helpful for anyone listening. I put all of my phone, all of my devices when I'm actually doing deep work on airplane mode. And I have an actual physical timer that times my tasks to really check myself. Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? One other thing as well that I would like to mention is I've had my team create like dashboards for me. So depending on the time zone I'm in the world, I can see like all of them lined up. So like New York time, Bangkok time, even Australia, to whatever it may be, which is helpful as well. So,
that's great because, like I said, like that's something where for a lot of people who are shifting or might be on like the nomad side of like running an agency, especially since you have your team, like keeping in mind your team size. Like I remember when I was in Europe for a month, it was so jarring to me. Like for my team, they were ending their day by the time that I woke up and like having to do like check-in calls all in the morning and then more on client calls later in the afternoon because then the clients were waking up on their side of the world. So it's that consideration of making sure that everyone feels taken care of, both on the client side and the team side. So diving into essentially on what you do. So today is, as we're recording this is basically the middle of February, but I saw that you're launching a few things. But I do want to dive into on that side, you did the freelancing and then you were like, oh, this is like the business side of it. And then you did the social media and now you're doing the recruitment. How does all of that come together for you like right now?
No, that's a great point. So for me, from the beginning, like even before I started my business, I've always been obsessed with personal brand and the creator economy. That I would say is my passion side. I am obsessed with all things content creation, growing a brand, the power of social media, everything in those lines. The businesses that I've created have kind of fallen into my lap naturally, in addition to the hard work that I mentioned of like my corporate jobs. But I ended up landing a few real estate clients in the social media management space. And that was my niche right now for the social media management agency, specifically luxury real estate and also real estate investing. Those two brands specifically really know and realize the investment in investing in your social media to get leads. You don't need to have millions of followers to get leads and ROI from your social media. For anyone listening, like you could generate, if you have a great social media manager, you could really track how many conversions you're getting from social media. So that is the business side that I would say kind of fell in naturally. The recruitment side also kind of fell naturally through doing so, through growing and getting more real estate clients and growing our own brands. I started hiring naturally for myself and realizing how much of an investment and return on investment you get through hiring amazing talent. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but it is just truly amazing to see like what you can do when you have the right people on your team. So I started getting really passionate about that and growing some of the entrepreneurs we worked with, creative teams. And then, I realized the value. The entrepreneurs I worked with realized the value and there was demand. So we ended up this is all new to me, by the way. And I think this is something that in terms of entrepreneurship, the best people that I know that have the most successful businesses innovate and are constantly looking at other ideas. So I decided to try it out. And transparently, it is still fairly new. Like I think I spoke to Leanne in the beginning when I was considering doing it. I launched it. It's less than a year into the business, but so far things are going pretty well, even though it's new. And I'm really passionate about what we do, the hires that we help create. Most of our hires, just for context, are social media managers and video editors, some executive assistants as well. But these are really hard to fill roles to find the right talent for entrepreneurs that we're coming in and filling for them. So all of that aside, that's kind of how the social media agency and the recruitment agency came into play. I'm not sure if you want me to talk about what we're launching as well, but I have recently been
happy to.
Okay. No, I think like I mentioned with that, just quote on entrepreneurship, I really have been like the best entrepreneurs I know, like I mentioned, constantly are innovating and looking at different ideas. So an opportunity arose to become a partner in this tech startup, which is what I'm partnering with as well. It's an app for basically video editors and storage for creators to automatically tag, AI automate, really anything you can think of in one centralized location. So naturally, that is just something that could either be an add-on or something we're continuously using day to day and that we're very passionate about. So that is still in beta, and I am not a tech person whatsoever. I've never been, I do not claim to be, but actually sitting down and looking at like the tech route has been really inspiring as well. So that's also been taking up a lot of my day here in the US. Been working crazy long hours, but it's been exciting and I'm excited to see the launch as well. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I mean, that's a brief overview of everything. A lot of things focus on the creator economy. A lot of things focused on top creative talent specifically.
Gotcha. No, it's a great dive in, because like that's one where well, basically my follow-up question, like, why do the recruitment rather than just having everyone in-house? Like, what was that decision for you? Because like, of course, like when I talk about a lot of those social media agencies, they tend to just hire like in-house. It's not really recruiting for the client. What was that shift over of like, okay, I want to recruit and then place people instead of like recruit and then keep them?
That is a great point. So the honest answer is a lot of the founders we were working with were looking to grow long-term media teams because that's the level that they were looking to grow their brand. So yes, we could keep them as a social media client just in the social media agency, but long-term, that's not going to benefit us both to the degree that it should. So yeah, ultimately, I just saw the opportunity. Like I said, some things fell naturally. Some things, a lot of demand just came to us through the entrepreneurs we were talking to that were really looking to go to the next level and understood the value of creative businesses. Because as I'm sure you know, content creation, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of moving parts, and just making sure, you have people on your team that are A players is important. So yeah.
Gotcha. That's super true. Like I said, like most agencies that I've talked to, they stick to that, like, okay, we're hiring in-house, but I can see, like for I think I talked to you about this a little bit, for 2XC when we were running it, we did kind of start with like executive assistants that we hired 4 people, and we essentially switched over to like more of the management model, just because like we had more of the structure. But I've always been curious about the other side of it. I'm like, what if I continued on the essentially like the recruitment part of it, instead of just like doing the ongoing management side. So thank you for giving me a little bit of like, oh, okay, that's what it's like. So then what has been...
Oh, sorry, not to interrupt you. I should mention as well, we actually have both sides. So we do offer ongoing management, but so far as of now, the placement side of just the one-time placement to their media teams has been a little bit higher buy-in. But as of now, we do offer that as well. And we have a US account manager helping, which I think is the similar model to you. So that is something we're still considering and honestly testing, but that's just something to note as well. So yeah.
No, like I said, it is one of those, not really pivot area or like crossing the road kind of thing for agencies, because I know people who do a little bit both. It's similar to yours, so like they do both, either we recruit for you or we just have an ongoing management for you. So I'm curious to see how that keeps kind of growing on your end through the last couple of years, like having your freelance and then having your business. What's still something that excites you? What's something, I know you said like growing people personal brand, but like for you, what's something like, oh, I want to dive into this, I want to do this?
Okay, for me specifically, I have always been a people person, and something that really excites me and I've learned about myself is I get energy through seeing other people succeed and talking to other people. Some founders hate meetings, hate one-on-ones. I actually love them, which might be controversial, but I do. I get my energy through talking to people and actually helping them grow and succeed. So something for me specifically, we've been building out a lot of training programs, specifically like SOP and playbooks in a lot of the roles that we're filling. That's been exciting. But I think as well on the flip side, seeing the talent grow as they grow in their roles has been really exciting as well. And I think also just like learning how to create like creative training assets has been exciting, like something very, very new to me. Like digital products, like I know that is completely your zone specifically, but that's actually been like, I would say, I don't want to say passion project because it's still work, but it is like that is exciting to me. And what we're teaching and the benefit that you're getting is something that I think is really valuable. And yeah, like I mentioned, I just love seeing other people's potential as well and helping them in that journey as well. So yeah, I think that I've been diving into a lot of new areas of the business.
So basically people and systems, which is my favorite thing as well. It does last.
Yes.
Like 2 to 6 years in, but like it's still, those are the two things that whenever I'm like, what am I doing this for? Like, oh, okay, that's like, okay, now getting back to it. And what has been I always get mixed reaction to this question. What's your least favorite thing about like having and growing your business?
Okay. I would say this is a double-edged sword when it comes to the business specifically, but I think as a founder, especially in the beginning stages of like starting a new model, you need to learn to a certain degree everything to an extent before you hire it. Like to a basic level, I think you need to learn it. So I think for me specifically, like it's just been long days with learning certain aspects of the business. I'll give you an example, specifically like Claude, AI. There's certain things that I've been really diving into just because I know I need to do it as a founder. As I literally preaching to the choir, I know that you know this. But as we learn and grow, like that's our job to learn the basics and teach those certain things. So I think, I would say like long days when it comes to making sure that you're set up for success and like leading the team correctly. And sometimes that takes away from certain personal activities, which I know we talked about that in the beginning, but it's all about how you manage your day. But I think, sometimes like that I would say is the downside to the job is there's always something else to do. There's always something else that you could be doing. And for me, sometimes that always isn't the best because I just want to dive into everything. So,
Sure. It's hard to not get obsessed over like one part of your business and like dive into fix. Like I remember before I had a social media team, but like having to plan out everything and like, okay, I liked having the sequence, and then now having like a whole team of like, okay, this is now the new content calendar for 2XU. This is what we'll be doing. This is what we'll dive into. Same thing on like the recruitment side of like, I used to have all of my fingers, like everything else. Like, no, now I just, someone else view pops up in the team page. I'm like, oh, hi. So it is a shift over for sure of like really having to like learn and like build it so that you know that you can also hire really well for yourself for that role. So speaking of AI, what's been something interesting to you, especially in the content creator space? Like I see all both sides of like people who refuse to use AI at all. And then of course, like I've seen the flip side of people who completely clone themselves, where I watch their YouTube videos and I ask them like, is this you or is it your clone? And then of course, most of them will say like, oh, I'm so-and-so's clone. Where do you sit right now with that evolution?
So this is my thought process on AI. I think in order to work smarter, not harder, you need to know AI to a basic degree. I mean, if you're not, you're just going to fall behind. I think that's just a very honest answer, unless you are superhuman and you have a million amazing creatives on your team. I think being able to train and use AI to your advantage to an extent and learning how to still have a human touch is where the superhuman and super creatives win. So that's what we've been doing, looking at basically enhancing creative workflows. How do we get the best results with a human touch? So and to your point as well, like I see this as well, like 11 Labs, like cloning yourself. I think from a brand perspective, this is a quote from one of my favorite creative teams. I'm not sure if you've heard of Caleb Ralston. Have you heard of him by chance?
Again, very familiar. We've been studying so much things in the last couple of years. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, no, I think he made an amazing statement the other day that he was like, we can tell your team's using AI. Like there's a huge difference between founders and businesses that aren't using AI to the extent where it's just AI slop. So I think that it's important to just, have content that is human-like, actually has a human touch and requires that creative thinking, like human thinking. Versus like, yes, I've seen those as well with the cloning. I think that hurts brand integrity. And a huge part of a good creative hire is to protect that as well. So.
Gotcha. That makes total sense. And I think for like, it works for the people who do have like AI services, because of course that's literally what they sell. But if you're trying to grow that, like and trust with people, like it has to be a little bit of that human. And like, I saw someone make a joke the other day of like, nowadays the only time I would want to talk to a person is like if they're real, like screaming at me into my face, because then I'm sure that they're not AI. So I completely understand. And like, I'm now curious though, on the recruitment side, just because I just had this conversation with my client success manager yesterday, where he's starting to catch people who are obviously reading when they're doing interview, they're reading off of an AI when they're responding. How have you, on the recruitment side of taking care of your people side, how have you kind of mitigated that, handled that? How are you managing that side of people kind of just using AI to just get any job?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. We have filters, absolutely. Even before we get on the screening interview, in the applicant, in the answers that we're asking for, we have certain filters to filter out that a little bit. I think you can tell there's certain like telling factors if it's written with AI. So that on the pre-screening side, they won't even get an interview, or if they don't simply follow directions, you know what I mean? So they're already out. Specifically for the screening though, I think it depends on the recruiter and the person on the interview. I mean, if they are reading, I think it is pretty easy to catch. Like if you're interviewing someone and you're asking for heartfelt questions and it's just like staring at a screen, like reading or looking down, that's obvious. And that is something that we make note of, put it in our system, and they will not get that job specifically. If anything, sometimes we do offer the feedback, just so you know, for future interviews. Like that was a little bit unprofessional. But I think it like I mentioned, the biggest thing here is a little bit of a human touch. So making sure that you still have a recruiter, whether it's the founder or a recruiter, we have a recruiter on our team that is sitting in those interviews and is properly trained to spot those red flags. Because even aside from AI, there's still red flags that when you're in an interview, like a screening interview, we're looking for, no matter what you say, like whether it's an attitude or a culture fit, whatever it may be, that we're screening for. So it's just another thing to add to that checklist of, okay, is this person the best person for the role and exactly what we're looking for, or is there something that is a red flag? But it is a good point because that absolutely has been happening, and it has been happening increasingly more, as I'm sure it's happened to you as well.
But it's funny when they do get through the filters. You can of course, like everything and anything in life, you can always set up like all of the things, but then it's always down to either the execution or like being able to catch it and see it. So I'm always curious. I guess like I had someone on the podcast where for him they did go ahead and build like an AI who like does all of the interviews, mostly because then it makes it faster for them to go through 3,000 applicants as an example, versus like if it was all human. And he made a really good point about still doing that, but then afterwards then they get to meet being a human, then they're actually talking to, but then the AI already filtered them through of like these people are matched based on these parameters. Now let's move on to the next person. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting next couple of years of like watching as all of that grow. So then for you, you mentioned your niche basically, which is the Lux real estate. And like for me, I have my one of my favorite content creators on TikTok for that. And it's funny to say, I'm in the Philippines. I should not like look at the real estate in the US, but she does like that dry humor that makes me want to keep watching. But then for you, for your clients, what is it actually like of like getting them from where they're at and like getting them to actually now they have the built brand basically for those consistent leads? Like what is that journey like for them?
So for a lot of these clients, they really don't want to be whatsoever hands-on on marketing, and they want to trust us to deliver for them. So we have a little bit of freedom with that. I like to say, I'm not sure if you're into any of like the like real estate shows on Netflix, but that's typically what we try to replicate to an extent for our personalities on their social medias. So like Selling Sunset, if any of your listeners have heard of that, Selling Manhattan, that's a big one as well. And they're killing it with how they show listings, how they show up as a realtor, how they show these luxury lifestyle, because you're ultimately selling the lifestyle as well. Yeah. So it's interesting to navigate in that sense because they give us a lot of trust with, okay, take my brand and run with it, but they also expect high results. Like they want to see people coming in through this, like sales closed. So that's really interesting to note. Some of our clients, we have clients worldwide. So we've had clients in Thailand, we've had clients in Orange County, New York. So it's interesting to also see the different markets and also, of course, the visuals that come from those different markets. Some of the beautiful properties were insane, but it's also location independent. And something to consider as well with those different clients is the different markets and like how you're talking to those different markets specifically. So it's been interesting to navigate. I personally love that. I always have had a passion for interior design, real estate, that space specifically. That's one thing to mention as well. When you're selling that lifestyle type of vibe with like that luxury lifestyle, interior design, like certain areas of like selling the home come into play with the content. So yeah, my team and I, we absolutely love doing that. That's kind of our bread and butter. We spend hours researching outliers in the space, how to replicate trending reels, and then giving shot lists delivered to our clients. So for anyone listening as well, how we do this remotely, because I think this is important to note, because a lot of these top real estate professionals have professional videographers or photographers. We have
Right.
certain ways where we hire out, because like I'm doing this from Thailand. So someone might be listening wondering like, how the heck do you do that and capture
Mhm.
that great footage? We outsource and hire photographers and videographers in their city if they choose, or sometimes we give them a shot list and that quality won't be as high footage, but typically their firm that they're with has footage for them for the listings. So that's what we utilize. So if you're wondering how do you get the footage, we either outsource it, they have it through the firm, and then we provide shot lists because like we kind of mentioned as well, I think content is shifting, especially with AI, and people still want to see like the human side of a brand.
Yeah.
So for these real estate agents, even if you're a luxury, like people still want to see you showing up on stories, maybe even going live. Like these are things that we help consult on as well. But yeah, that's just something to consider, I think, with like how we do this remotely and how we have teams members like all over the world helping them. But yeah, it's been really interesting. I love the industry.
That it's funny because like right last week I was going through like Airbnb listings, like planning out my trip, and it's so funny like seeing what obviously is AI and then what obviously is like still like the actual like unit that they're trying to get sold. So it's interesting seeing both sides. Yeah, no, you can obviously tell, but then sometimes you get to the point where you just want to see like you still look up reviews, you still like think what does the human say, this is what the AI is saying, but what are the humans actually saying about this. So that's great that you have especially the live. I don't think a lot of like real estate agents that I've seen anyway utilize the live feature often enough, just because like, oh, no one's really watching, like, hey, that's how you build, like, hey, this is real, I'm moving around, this is actually a human like going through this house, I'm answering your questions live. Can be such a great filter between the great, AI versus human kind of toss over.
Yes. One thing on that note as well that I think is important to mention, maybe someone looking to get into this or just curious about social media, something that's been working really well for us, either like through our hires or through our agency, has been like soft selling on Instagram stories. I'm not sure if this is something that you do as well, but or I've seen your stories, you do amazing, but it is just such an underrated hack, especially for the real estate industry, to soft sell and just show your viewers more behind the scenes, but also soft sell in the process. So they get a better humanized approach of, okay, I get to understand them, their day to day. It feels almost more like a FaceTime or like close friends, but it's not. And I think that really helped close the conversion so much more. So if you're not soft selling, or if you have a client or you're looking in the space, I recommend looking into that. There's a lot of SOPs and areas for that type of like what to do and how to do it, because there's a lot of different approaches. But yeah, just to mention as well.
Gosh, that's a really good note, because like I said, it's the building relationship side that's going to be irreplaceable, like forever. Like 100 years ago, 100 years from now, that's still going to be the important part of it. And I think utilizing other ways to build a relationship outside of meeting people in person is the stories, is the live, is kind of like I love that you're selling, you're telling of the soft selling, basically, of like that's the way to be able to go, because it's not in your face and you're just like, oh, I'm curious about this, like I want to know more about this. The funny example that I have in my head is like, I see this guy on TikTok all the time selling like Japan homes. I'm probably not gonna move to Japan, but I know if someone asks me, I'm probably gonna refer that guy, just because like, again, I've seen his content, I've seen his stories. So it's that building the relationship. So now, as we've kind of gone through big parts of like your story, and I love that you're very obviously passionate about what you do, the how you've grown, and then also with like your business, with the constant rise of AI and how we're growing, how everything is always evolving. If there was a way to perfectly clone you, there's another gorgeous Kierra on your side, 10, 300, there's a whole army of you. How would you want to change or impact the world if you had that much, essentially, like influence / power in that way?
Sorry. Okay. Pause for a second. I think you're back. Okay. I absolutely love this question. I am from a founder perspective, I am all about purpose, whether that's getting the candidates a perfect job, whether that's for me specifically being in alignment, having a business that's a passion project to me. So for me to answer that question, I think my sole goal to clone me would be to inspire other people to have unlimited potential. Know that you have unlimited potential, specifically for creatives that understand that there's limitless ways to be successful and make money. There's so many creative businesses. I think that's why I'm so passionate about the creator economy. I will preach that to the rooftops. I think it's so important to recognize that. And I think, especially where I come from, like this lifestyle, this starting a business, freelancing even, is a bit unconventional. So I would just say, purpose to preach to the rooftops, really just sit down and realize, yeah, you have unlimited potential. There's so many creative ways to make money, and be more purpose-driven with what you want, what you're good at, what you like, and how that could align to making money with high income skills.
So amazing. It's finding essentially the thing that overlaps everything else. And where you want to go, you know what you want to do. I love that. So, Kierra, how can people find you? How can people find out more about the programs that you're launching? How can people connect with you online?
Yeah. Thanks so much. So you can find me on LinkedIn at Kierra Maggs, on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Kierra Maggs as well. And if you want to see my websites, it's Limitless Social Agency for the social media management side and the Creator's Assistant for recruitment.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I was so excited when you said yes when I invited you on. So yeah, I think a lot of people learned a lot of the behind the scenes of it. So thank you so much for being open as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So again, guys, feel free to find Kierra everywhere else. I already follow her on Instagram and on LinkedIn. So all of those links will be on the description below. If you guys liked this episode, make sure to hit that like button right there. Comment below if you have any more questions for Kierra. She would probably respond. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button on the Scale You podcast so you don't miss any of the future episodes on the podcast. Now, I hope you guys have a wonderful and fantastic day. And where that small steps matters. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.